Let's talk about the PRO framework. We're talking about P, the person, the role, and the organization. And this is the core of the framework I would like to show you in the next couple of minutes. Because this is the framework that we're using when we're talking with individuals about how they perform in an organization in their particular role. So all the three elements are extremely important. And the person needs the role to be linked to the organization. So the role is the link that connects the individual person to the organization. That might sound a little bit abstract, but think about my role as a professor at this university. I, as a person, I'm not at all important for the university to function properly. But what is important is my role as a professor in the classroom. So who is filling this role is completely of no concern for the organization unless this role is being filled. The problem here is that the role is given by the organization and it's taken by the person. So we have one aspect here and another one here. And in the best case, the overlap between given and taken is much larger than the one I've shown you here. So the problem here again is that if the role is given and the role is taken by myself, there is a lot of fantasy in the room about how the role should be enacted, about how the role should be interpreted. And also, there is a problem in most cases for the individual, especially if they are in managerial functions. They want to prove that they are efficient in their role. And this leads to a lot of turbulence in this little framework between the person, the role, and the organization. And what we do in our work is that we are looking at several factors that are going beneath the surface of these individual aspects. For example, when we're looking at organizations, we focus on things like culture. We look at dynamics. But we also look at organizational challenges, at key events, and many more that we are interested in when we try to understand the organization. If we're looking at the role, which would be the next step in the whole system, we are interested in certain boundaries, in authority. And there is this formal authority and linked to the boundaries. What is this role allowed to do? What is this role not allowed to do? And what can he or she actually do in real life? And there is a lot of complexity that we try to untangle. And at one point, from a very certain perspective, we will talk about the person and the personality and how this person is taking up the role to be linked to the organization. And here we are looking at early history. And that's something we will come back to in a couple of minutes. But we also look at impact and image. So how does this person impact the role taking and how is this person perceived image-wise? We also look at the relation to authority, which will be very relevant when we talk about the culture in the organization and the authority of the role. And the last thing we're looking at, or one of the last things, are potential defenses that the person might show. The idea is, with whatever we do here, is to enlarge the behavioral repertoire. And by doing this, increase the size of the field of action and ultimately increase organizational and role performance. We also look at the environment, which plays a major part in all the system. So when we're looking at the environment, we look at social norms, for example. those are very much linked to the culture, not only the culture of the organization, but also the culture where the organization is in. We look at economic realities and pressure. We also look at constraints and expectations. And those can be manifold, like sustainability, potential legal things that you have to keep in mind, and so on and so forth. And the last thing that we're looking at is the systemic cultural perspective. In the systemic cultural perspective, we look at the leadership style. We take a look at certain metrics. And also, we take a look at the organizational life cycle. Based on all these things, we are trying again to enlarge the behavioral repertoire of the individual person and to increase the role performance to ultimately increase organizational performance. The tricky thing here is that it might make sense from a rational point of view, but there are a lot of things that we have to keep in mind, and a lot of them are unconscious. So we might know these things, but we have never thought about them. And that's the next thing, the unthought known. And by tapping into that, we are trying to use one framework that is called the Johari window. And the Johari window, like the name says, has basically 4 quadrants. These things are known to me. These things are unknown to me, and these are known to others and unknown to others. So everything that is in this quadrant is very, very difficult because this is the unconscious. On the contrary, this quadrant is the open one. This area that I know but others don't know is what I keep hidden. And this area are my blind spots. So using this very simple framework, we are able to work on this more complex framework to increase role performance and organizational performance. And this is the PRO framework.